Welcome to Digimon.
Hello and welcome to Digimon. Bit of an out of the ordinary video today. We're not talking about new releases or a deck profile or a match. We're talking about a bit more of a serious issue. Player burnout. Now this does not necessarily refer to myself or to anyone in particular, but recent events and discussions with my locals group had me thinking, and I thought I'd make a video about it. Because there may be some of you watching this video who may be experiencing those sorts of feelings one way or another, and I feel discussing those feelings in an open forum could help with figuring out what the right thing is for you to do. So first of all, what is player burnout? Well, as I said, it could stem from a lot of different things. And I'll use myself as an example, not necessarily in reference to Digimon, but in reference to my previous card game, YuGiOh. Now I ultimately left YuGiOh for a few different reasons. For one, it just wasn't affordable for me to continue playing. With other responsibilities in my life, I couldn't justify spending money on single cards that costed in excess of an entire sealed box. At the time I left YuGiOh, Kashtira, one of the best decks at the time, cost over $1,000 to build. I could easily build a few competitive Digimon decks for that sort of money. Another reason I left was that for me, YuGiOh just wasn't fun for me anymore. The game had become increasingly toxic and even stressful to play, needing to have so many different answers for so many different decks, and the game's philosophy changing to one of I win because my opponent doesn't get to play. Even the community wasn't really grabbing me anymore, with increasing run-ins with players who were just not nice to play with, and that's not really the game's fault, but it still contributed to me wanting to leave the game. And now when I look to Digimon, I can see some parallels to that format of YuGiOh. We are now in one of the most diverse formats Digimon has seen for a really long time, which has its advantages and disadvantages. I look at the current format positively. I'm having a blast with it myself, maining decks like Adventure, Omnimon, and even my pet decks such as Greymon and Axel. But we have got some decks in the format that really rub people the wrong way. Public enemy number one is probably Digimon. Now, Digimon has seen less success as of late, but it's still a horrific deck. With the right hand, it could genuinely finish the game on turn 2 or 3. Making use of a wide toolbox empowered by overly generic and overly tuned cards. Looking at you, Gravcrush. Then there's decks like Royal Knights, which can lock people out of playing the game with its board control, and decks like Sakuyamon, which has turns that last a lifetime. Admittedly, Adventure falls into this trap too, and even has a bit of a fluunderies effect, by which I mean it can essentially play things out on the opponent's turn. And that's irrespective of the ace mechanic. The game has come a long way since its humble beginnings, and this, again, is both to its advantage or its disadvantage, depending on your point of view. So, if you're feeling like I did back when I left YuGiOh, what can you do to combat those feelings? Well, first, just take a break. Digimon is a fantastic game, one of the most fun games I've ever played, even outside of the card game environment. But if you feel like it's becoming a chore to play, or that you'd rather do something else, or you're not finding it enjoyable, take that time to chill, to do something else, play other games, take up a different hobby, whatever you need. The game will still be there for you to come back to anytime you want. But what if you don't want to stop playing? Then I'd recommend playing the game differently. Play non-meta decks, or decks you've not tried before. Decks that are more for fun, rather than competitive success. Some of my best times playing Digimon aren't the times I'm sweating it playing Adventure against Digimon or Royal Knights. It's playing something like Axel, Green Gacha, or Kentorusmon. You can also try different formats like Pauper format, Sealed Cubes, Conquest, or Colour-Locked formats. If your friends are okay with it, you could even ask to swap decks with people. Maybe not for keeps, but just for an evening to try out something new. Let yourself play decks for fun, even if they are technically kind of bad. I mean, the whole reason we started the Jank Tank tourneys on this channel was to essentially give all the bad but fun decks a place where they could shine. And I promise we will try and work out a date for Jank Tank 10. We've just had a really bad run of availability over the last couple of months. Speaking of availability, that could be another reason for a burnout. A lack of availability for something that you need to keep you invested in the game. This could be a lack of product, a lack of pricing, a lack of events in your local area, When it comes to finding product, try seeing if there are other places you can get what you're after. Try heading online, or maybe visit a different store if you can. You could also mention to your locals to keep getting in the product, giving them an incentive to keep buying into things you in turn want to buy from them. That's pretty much how we became a well-established group at Dead Universe. We kept mentioning the want for new product, and the guys at the shop, being absolute legends, were more than happy to oblige. When it comes to pricing, this can be a little different. Stores need to keep up regular contact with Bandai through way of submitting results and physically requesting tournament pricing. To that end, if your local store is not delivering in that area, try going to somewhere that is. It doesn't have to be all the time. You might have loyalty to your local store, or you might not want to travel further and further away just to play the game. But every now and again, just to get pricing can really help boost your want to play. Likewise, if you're not about pricing or competitive play, try to stick with groups that are a bit more casual. Despite what the internet might tell you, there's nothing wrong with being a casual, and you are certainly not filthy for doing so. In terms of events, if you don't have enough physical events in your area, you could try a couple of things. You could first try talking to your local store about getting more special events to your locals. You could even set up your own events. Sure, they might not be official Bandai events, but if enough people find it interesting, it could make for a fun time. Another thing to do is to look elsewhere, whether that be other stores with physical events or online. You might be able to find a Discord where they play regularly using webcams. We don't currently do this with our own Discord, but it's definitely a possibility, and I know of other Discords where this does happen. Now, onto the point that I mentioned regarding the people you're playing with being the issue. With this, it's like the reverse of the old saying, don't hate the player, hate the game. If you enjoy the game, but the people you are playing with are not making it an enjoyable experience, let them know. Dialogue can often change things for the better. And if that doesn't work, or you don't think it will from the start, just leave. Find other people to play with, whether that be different locals or online. You could also try playing simulators if you just wanted to erase people from the equation altogether. Just bear in mind, if you want to play the game in an official setting, you will have to interact with people eventually. Just try and stick to the people you know are decent to play with. Don't let yourself be entrapped by toxic situations created by toxic people. Going back to simulators, this can help you if affordability is the issue, but again, if you want to play the game in a more competitive or official sense, you'll have to play paper eventually. With that in mind, try playing decks that are a balance of competitive viability and affordability. Instead of playing something like Royal Knights that has a lot of high rarity cards, play something like Adventure instead. You can pretty much create the entire deck from structure decks, which will give you a lot more bang for your buck. It's the kind of build philosophy that I also recommend to people who are playing the game for the first time. Why keep forcing yourself to buy more expensive decks when you could have just as much fun, if not more so, with a much cheaper deck? And if buying 2 copies of the same structure deck is not up your alley, there are a myriad of other decks that you could build for way cheaper than any of the current meta decks that will genuinely give them a run for their money. Stuff like Axel or Dinomon. For the latter, you could argue that you would need to play stuff like Omnimon X or Medieval Gallantmon, and to that I say don't. Find cheaper and more creative ways to play. Put in a Ogubond Ace, or round off your level 6 line with a Rust Tyrannomon instead. There is always a way to build your deck the way that you want and need to build it. Don't feel obligated to buy expensive singles just because the current meta tells you to. Finally, and ultimately, if you have tried absolutely everything to get your love for the game going, but none of it's worked, just walk away. Take an extended break, or even leave it altogether. The game will always be there should you change your mind. You don't need to force yourself to stick to it. Do what is best for you. And on that note, we'll conclude the discussion. Have any of you experienced player burnout? And if so, what did you do to alleviate it? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give us a like and a subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more of our content. I promise that our usual content is a little more cheery. Anyways, that's enough from me. See you on the next video, but until then, keep it digital.